What's up, guys? I already recorded this video once before, but there are some things that I left out, which I'd rather get into this video. So let's get into it. OPS, Omaha Public Schools. A lot of you watching this went there, and a couple people have already hit me up asking to get their sides out. So I might make a part two. If not, then I'll just edit it into this one. But it's already gonna be a long ass video. Last time I recorded it was like an hour long. Omaha Public Schools. Horrible district, and I'm going to tell you why in this video, because there's a lot I need to get off and let y'all know, because the way they run it, I don't think they should be running the district like this. So let's get started. So what's up? Y'all know me as Ghost or Pablo, or Mr. Take Your Bitch, whatever you want to call me. I entered Omaha Public Schools when I was in preschool. And for a while, it wasn't too bad. Like, I'll say this now. They're not all bad. And not everyone in there is bad. But a lot of them are extremely questionable. And it's really started to be noticeable when I was in fourth grade. Now, when I was in fourth grade, that's when things started taking a bit of a turn in my school life. Because, I don't like to pull the mental illness card, at least on myself. But I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 7 years old. So when I enter fourth grade, when I'm 8 years old, I start showing signs that, I can't sit in my seat properly. I can't pay attention as well as the other kids. I talk a lot, and I'm very hyper. So my fourth grade teacher, Miss Vogt, didn't like that. Not whatsoever. And I felt bullied by this teacher because she would send me out of class for, the smallest things, like talking to somebody next to me or not sitting still in my seat or just doing shit a normal kid would do, or at least a kid with ADHD. I'm not fucking normal. But she starts sending me out over small things, and I'm just like what the fuck, So it gets to a point where, sending me out, that's one thing, but Valentine's Day comes around and she sends me out and doesn't let me come back for hours. And they all do their little Valentine's thing where they hand out candy and shit. And I was in the nurse's office in trouble. And she didn't give an apology. She just let me stay my ass in that fucking office. Let me lock this door. There's crackheads around me. Hold on. Anyways, yeah, so I felt bullied by this teacher. Another thing she would do is she had all the desks, like she had rearranged the desks to where they were all parallel to each other, except for one, which was in the very back of the class on a little island alone, which was me. So as an 8-year-old kid, I feel isolated from my peers. This was 2016, 2017. And I feel like the biggest thing that made me cry during that year, because I'm a fucking child, was when she had a jelly bean contest, and we had as many guesses for as many people were in our families. And I ended up guessing the exact number. But she accuses me of cheating. That I cheated and put an extra vote in there, and that I didn't deserve the candy. And I'm looking at this big ass jar of jelly beans I kind of just won, but it got ripped away from me because this bitch is saying I'm lying. So she gives it to a different kid. She gave it to you, Angel. You got them jelly beans. I still talk to the guy sometimes, but yeah. She didn't like me. And my mom had been up there multiple times to talk about it with the administrator I had, or the principal. And it didn't exactly get anywhere. Teacher would still be mean to me. She still didn't like me very much. And nothing was really done about it. And, I was an 8-year-old kid. I cried about it. But towards the end of the year, my mom had gotten sick of it, so she moved me schools to Gomez. Best teacher I could have asked for at Gomez, by the way, Miss Johnson. Fucking love you. But, yeah. Fourth grade, teacher bullying me. The bitch was like 60, so, look at your old ass bullying a fucking 8-year-old kid. But yeah, that was only 4th grade. Now we're moving on to 5th grade. So my 5th grade year at Mars Middle. We're on a timeline, by the way. We're on a timeline. 5th grade year at Mars Middle from 2017, 2018 school year. Towards, probably a month into school, they give me a paper. And I'm 10 at the time. And sorry guys, I just had a brain fart. I was 9 in 4th grade because I was 10 in 5th grade. Anyways, they give me a paper and tell me that I might need special help for, acting the way I do, because I'm still not paying attention, still not sitting in my seat, still me. But as a 10-year-old kid, I don't understand this, and I think they're calling me retarded. So they give me a paper. I tell my mom about it, and she starts to understand it more and realize they're just trying to give me extra help with something they call an IEP. And it was, I don't remember which teacher it was, but he gave me the paper. We had a little meeting about it. My mom wanted to go forward with the IEP. They never called her. They didn't schedule any meetings. They didn't send her papers to the mail, nothing. So instead of sending home papers with her, they would send them home with me. And this was their excuse as to why she never got them. But you're sending home this paper with a 10-year-old child who doesn't understand that this is going to help him. This kid thinks you're just calling him fucking retarded. I'm thinking I'm going to sit with fucking Timmy McGee in his fucking wheelchair sipping out a sippy cup. No. What they wanted to help with was, or what they should have helped with was, I guess, smaller classes, more attention, more time, and I guess more warnings because I had like anger issues or something. But the IEP was never put in place because, like I said, they never called my mom. They never scheduled a meeting with her. They never sent her home the letters in the mail. They sent them home with me, which God knows what I did with them. Shit, I was 10. This was 8 fucking years ago. I don't know what the hell I did with them. I was a kid. But the IEP was never put in place, and this will be important, as I go on. Another thing was the relentless bullying I got at that school. And I'm grown now. I could take an insult. I could take a beating. And it's shit to me now, but when you're 10, it doesn't feel too good getting bullied by the older kids. So I had this one bully, and I think his name was Corey. I might be wrong, but I think his name was Corey. Now, Corey would bully me every single day. And he was an 8th grader. I was a 5th grader, so he was about 3 years older than me. And it was a non-stop thing with this motherfucker. I mean, he would walk up to me outside of school, start picking on me. I'd get mad, and I was never the type of kid that... There's a fucking plane, hold on. Excuse me, there was a plane. Corey was always bullying me. And I had went to the teachers about it because they said, don't fight him back, come to us. So I did for a little bit. He never got any real consequences other than a stern talking to. We're going to talk to you about it. We're going to talk to you and you're going to listen. That doesn't fucking work, all right? He would, he talk shit to me, obviously. I would talk shit back. But he would smack me. I remember being thrown on the ground. I was tiny, by the way. I was probably about 4'11". I was a small kid. But he'd throw me on the ground outside by the buses. I'd get mad, I'd fight him back. And I was suspended a lot from this school for fighting. I was suspended a lot. And it was mostly fights, really. From kids coming at me and picking on me. And it was, it was crazy how, to me, that I would get these consequences for fighting back. they really wouldn't. You know, I had a shaved head, and at one point, and this one kid called me a bald little bitch, and he started pushing me. So I started fighting back. I still got suspended. He ain't. But they never really listened to me. And them not listening to me, I guess, kind of made me worse. So, you know, IEP never getting put in place, the bullying, teachers didn't really listen to me. It was kind of shit. I ain't gonna lie. So that was Morris Middle, 2017 through 18, my 5th grade year. 2018 through 19 wasn't too bad. I was at Gateway. Some of the kids would be little douchebags, but 6th grade wasn't too bad. Teachers around me they put up with a lot, not just with me, with a lot of kids. But good Lord, 7th through 8th grade at Bryan Middle, and this is 2019 all the way through 2021. So this is a long part, by the way. So, you know, be patient. So I started going to Bryan 2019, and I got in-school suspension my 3rd day there, and let me tell you why. So there's this girl named Marisol in my class, or Marisol, whatever. And I walk into the class, and I'm using my mom's old bag from her college, and it has her name on it. And honest to God, right now, that is my mom's name. So let me just show you. I got it tattooed on my fucking arm. You should know this. But that's my mom's name. So I'm just using her bag. But this girl says, she starts talking shit to me in class. It's my last class of the day. And she says, "Oh, you're fucking weird. You have my name, you have my name written on your bag." And I'm like, dumbass, you don't have the same name as everyone. I mean, you don't have a special name. You don't have any different name. That's my mom's name. And, you know, this makes her mad, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, things get heated, and she throws a pencil at me, and then she comes over to me, and I ain't gonna lie, this girl beat my ass. You know, I was still small. I was probably like 5'1". This girl's tall as shit. So she drags me around the classroom, starts like hitting me. I just get up right after that, and I walk out the class. I slam the door. I start walking back, because we were in the portables. I start walking back into the building, and I start to cry. And I start to cry because this was the year that I had told my mom, "Oh, I'm gonna lock in." Like, obviously I didn't say it like that. We didn't say it like that back then. But I said, I'm gonna be good this year. You know, things are gonna be better at Bryan. And the first day, some girl fucking fights me. So now I'm sad, and I don't want to get suspended, because I'm already terrified that whatever altercation I get in, I'm gonna get suspended. So I walk into the school. I walk into my counselor's office, and her name is Miss Sir. I hated this bitch. She made me switch administrators. She made me switch fucking administrators, so that I could get a different counselor. But I walk in her office, and I'm crying, telling her I don't want to get suspended, how I was supposed to actually do good this year, and blah 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 blah. You know, I'm sad because I really actually wanted to have a good school year this year. But, you know, instead of telling me, you know, you didn't fight back, blah 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 blah, she started it, and, you know, just attacked you. She says, "Well, I've seen your file, and I've seen, you know, what you've done." And she's referring to my past incidents. My past incidents from different schools, which, you know, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's all right to judge me based on, you know, my past before I ever even came to this school. You know, I don't even fucking know you. And at the beginning of the year, they did say, you know, it's a new school. We don't know you. Show us who you are, essentially. So she's judging me. So that girl got suspended for 2 days. I should add now, you know, we're cool now. We're homies. We see each other at functions. We're all cool. But she gets suspended for 2 days. Marisol. instead of, hey, you, you know, you didn't fight back, blah, blah, blah. I was the first kid in that year to get in-school suspension for verbal assault. Verbal assault, whatever the fuck that is. Because I told her, you don't have a special name. It's my mom's fucking name. So I get in-school suspension for verbal assault. Whatever. And I was the only kid in there that day. So, and I was in that room a lot for shit that happened throughout the year. So that was my first impression on Brian, on how they handle shit. Throughout the year, I got into, a couple fights, a couple altercations, but a couple of them stand out to me, including the suspensions, because I was suspended from that school damn near every week for my 7th grade year. And the ones that stick out to me are, first one being, I was in my science classroom, and we were all at the, the long tables, and these 3 kids were throwing a rag around. And they found a rag and they were throwing it around. And I'm thinking, it'd be funny if I just ran up, grabbed the rag, put it in my pocket, went and sat down, ruin their fun. So I do that. But as soon as I do that, teacher walks in the room. And she says, all 4 of you, go to the office now. And I'm like, miss, I wasn't even playing with it. I just picked it up. And she's like, I don't care. All of you go to the office. So I'm thinking, you know what? Fair. You saw all 4 of us. It's cool. Well, I'll go down to the office. We go down to the office. 2 of the kids have a different administrator. One of the kids has the same administrator as me. They all go in before me. They get sent back to class. I go in. Administrator doesn't say a word. Types some shit up on his computer. Tells me I'm suspended for 2 to 3 days. I don't remember exactly how much, but that's when I go, what the fuck? But I'm used to it at this point. I'm used to being suspended every fucking week for God knows what. So my grandpa comes to pick me up, and he says, why are you suspended? You just got back, because I had just gotten back to school like a day before. And I said, I don't know, me and these kids were playing around with a rag, and they suspended me for that. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, where are the other kids? I'm like, well, they got sent back to class. So he demands for my administrator to come to the front office. So he does. And my grandpa asks him, where are the other kids? Well, I can't disclose, blah, blah, blah. My grandpa's like, no, I don't want to hear that shit. Where are the other kids? And eventually he confesses, well, they're back in, their classroom. Why? Then why is Pablo suspended? So this pisses my grandpa off. He calls a tag building, and nothing really comes of it. He calls the tag building. I tell them the administrator's name. I can't even remember his fucking name now. It's been so long, but I tell him his name, and I tell him what happened. Nothing happened. Nothing happened with the administrator. Nothing happened with my suspension. It was never revoked. So I stayed my ass home for a couple of days. I get back, whatever. Another suspension that stood out to me was this one day, that same science classroom. I'm walking in there, look at my phone, my mom texts me, text her back, put it back in my pocket. So I just walk in the classroom. We needed a substitute for this science classroom, and it turned out to be Mr. Rutherford, who was a fucking dick. He was weird. I didn't like him. And I'm pretty sure he was a pedophile too, but hey, don't quote me on that. But he's our substitute. He sees that I had pulled out my phone and put it back in my pocket. And he says, give me your phone. And, calmly, I'm like, oh, mister, is it all right if I keep it in my pocket? I was just returning a text from my mom. He goes, just instantly, 0 to 100. Give me your phone, right? And I'm like, mister, I was just checking a text from my mom. And he starts yelling at me, give me your phone, like starting to corner me. And I'm getting scared, I'm a 12-year-old kid. And he corners me, and I start getting scared. Kids start walking in the classroom. They don't understand what's going on. They just see this motherfucker yelling at me. They just walk out the class. So I ended up in the office for this. Eventually I ended up giving him my phone, just because how scared I was. And I ended up in the office, and I'm crying because I just got bullied by this grown-ass man. And I'm telling my administrator, he's a bully. He cornered me. He wasn't even asking me no questions, blah, 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 blah. And I see the teacher, Mr. Rutherford, comes in, rolls his eyes, he leaves. I was suspended for a day. Why? I don't know. I really don't. I couldn't fucking tell you. But I get suspended for a day. So, whatever. You know, I'm suspended every week from here. And I'm in SSC half the time. One day while I was in SSC, actually, this also is a crazy part. A lot of the kids there, I had a lot of enemies, right? And the teacher saw this. I have a couple star witnesses who were there for the whole thing. But teachers never did shit about it. I'd get bullied at that school too. But one day, I'm in SSC with some other kid that, me and him were beefing at the time. We're also cool now, hey, look at that, I'm cool with everybody who hated me back then. But I'm in the SSC room, and this kid goes, I don't know what we're arguing about, but his comeback to me was, oh, well, I'll just go get my brother's gun and fucking shoot you. I'm used to threats like this. First time I got threatened to get my house shot up, I was in 5th grade. At Mars, by the way, so there's more to that. But he says, I'll get my brother's gun and I'll shoot you. And the SSC teacher's right there. He heard this. And, at least he said, what the hell is wrong with you? You guys are always picking on this fucking dude. He's not even doing shit. And you're threatening to shoot him. Be a fucking man, And he sends him out. That's cool. He sends him to the office. Nothing came of that. He didn't get suspended. I saw him next day in school. Pretty sure he even came back to the SSC room after that whole ordeal. But, making a threat like that, I'm sure that should cause suspension or something, right? Shit, it's a gun threat in school, so nothing came of it, though. He stayed in school. Stayed his happy ass in his fucking classroom next day. But, whatever. Eventually, school ends because of COVID. So it was, probably around March, April 2020. School ends because of COVID. We're inside. And I go back to Bryan the next year, or the following school year, in my 8th grade. And it wasn't as bad this time around with all the bullying, or with all the bullshit either. There wasn't as many people there at school. I went a little bit. It wasn't as bad until, say, around March of 2021, February, March of 2021. Because me and this dude, we end up arguing over some stupid shit. It was over a blunt, because it was around the time I started smoking when I was 13. It was over a blunt, and, some shit was said back and forth. But honestly, I thought, whatever, I don't give a shit. Fuck your blunt. And this dude decides he's going to spread rumors about me. Telling people that I don't know, people that I've never met, that I'm talking shit about them. And that's when it gets like, all right, bro, you're doing way too much. But the worst part is these kids believed it. I don't know if it's because we were young. I don't know if it's because they were stupid. I mean, one even admitted to me later when shit had died down, like, yeah, I don't really believe that you were talking shit about me because you don't even know me, but, I thought, my friend would lie to me. So he starts telling people that I'm talking shit about them. And this turns into a very big problem, and let me tell you why. So there's this dude constantly trying to fight me now. This other dude, who I won't name. But we get into a couple things, whatever, shit talking. And my administrator, I get pulled into his office. He's like, well, I'm suspending you for the day. I'm like, whatever, dude. You guys always fucking do. And he's like, do you have a ride home? I'm like, no, I don't. I genuinely don't have a ride home. So his sorry ass has to take me home. So he does. He walks up to my house, and my grandpa, I had told him about all of this. So my grandpa's like, did you fight him? I'm like, no, I didn't. He's like, did he fight you? I'm like, no, we didn't get in a fight. And right in front of this administrator, he goes, well, if he tries to fight you, you're gonna beat his ass. I'm like, all right. Because my grandpa had heard about all this. You know, he knows I've been trying to tell them at least a couple times, and they never do shit. So the administrator goes, well, we don't want that, you know, being a fucking professional piece of shit. And my grandpa goes, no. He's like, he's told you guys many times that these kids are picking on him, and you guys haven't done anything. And the administrator really has no defense to that. They really didn't do anything. But I start going back to school after that suspension, and it ends up being a whole group of like 6 guys trying to fight me. And that's when I'm like, all right, either I fight them one by one, I get jumped, or I go to the administrator, and I don't really know what choice I have with. I'm just gonna get expelled at this point, you know? And so I ended up getting sent to the administrator's office for some unrelated shit. I think I was mad in the hallway. And I get sent in there, and they're like, well, what's your problem? And okay, sorry, there's a guy on a bike. And I tell them, you know, basically the entire thing, the whole ordeal, and they say, oh, well, thank you for coming to us, blah 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 blah. But with what had happened with me being mad in the hallway, I was alone, just angry. A different administrator is dealing with me, and she calls my mom, because, you know, my administrator wasn't in at the time. So she calls my mom and straight up starts to lie about what I did, you know, adding extra details. He was causing a huge scene, blah, 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 blah. Nobody was in the hallway. It was just me. So, you know, I'm hearing her lie, and I'm like, that's not fucking true. And I say this loud, and I can see her look over in such an anger. She looks over like, bitch, I'm not gonna let you lie. And my mom's not gonna fucking believe you when I tell her what actually happened. So I leave school that day. And maybe 2 days later, a day or two later, they call my mom and they said, well, we found a way to resolve the issue. We're gonna keep him online for the rest of the year, meaning he can't come back to school. And my mom's like, so you're kicking him out? No, well, we're just moving him online to online learning, remote learning, blah, 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 blah. Because it's just the easier thing to do. You know, there's so many kids trying to fight him. It's the easier thing to do. I'm sorry. When a person gets jumped, do they put his ass in jail because it was the easier thing to do? No, they fucking don't. So, whatever. I stopped going to Bryan after they sent me out for permanently, because that was my last year there. I'm just like, you know, whatever. I don't want to fucking deal with you guys anymore anyways. You put me through hell. I fucking hated middle school. But yeah, that was Bryan Middle. Bullied by teachers, bullied by peers. Kind of sucked. So I leave Bryan. For high school, I go to South. And, you know, freshman year South, it wasn't too bad. Other than some fucking pussies I had to deal with. But, you know, that's about it. People spreading lies about me. Saying that I'm an R-wordist. But you guys have known me for forever. You guys remember that whole thing, you know? It's bullshit. Fucking Adam Harris. I still remember you, bitch. But yeah. 9th grade wasn't too bad. Neither was sophomore year. Sophomore year, to be honest, I was moving back and forth from San Antonio to Omaha. But good Lord, junior year, good fucking Lord. All right, so IEP I mentioned earlier. Freshman year, never got it. 7th and 8th grade, never got it. Sophomore year, never got it. Never got it at all. You know, it'd been years since I had been needing one, but never got it. Junior year, though. I go in first day, wasn't too bad. Incident happens outside of school where I have a knife. It's not a fight or nothing. You guys remember that. If you put it in the comments, fuck me, I guess. But I go back second day and I get called down to the office. They find my knife, whatever. You know, I'm thinking I'm going to get expelled, but I don't. See, they let me back into school under the condition that I have to be searched every day, regularly, and at random. So I'm like, look, I'm fine with that. I just want to come back to school. I really actually want to do good this year. Blah, 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 blah. And I go in every day, get searched. I get suspended twice before this big incident. For one time, I don't remember what it was for. I think it was just a day for some stupid shit. But a different suspension was for when I was in the hallway. I was just talking to my girlfriend at the time. And some guy who doesn't like me walks up to me because I'm talking shit about Adam Maris. And, you know, that's his girlfriend at the time. And I'm like, look, your girl didn't shut her fucking mouth. I'm going to say whatever the fuck I want about her. And he grabs me, shoves me into a locker. I get out of his grip. And now we're just standing there. Everybody's watching. So I'm thinking, do I get in this fight? Because I will get expelled. And I'm under extremely high surveillance. So security rushes over. And there's like 3 security guards plus a cop. And he walks away, you know, being walked away by students and a teacher. And, you know, when I'm walking away with 3 security guards and a cop by my side, I'm thinking, yo, this is bullshit. Did he just get let off? Because this is all I'm seeing. So I ain't gonna lie. I tried to make a run for it. And, you know, they catch me, you know, they grab me. And the cop slams me against a locker and starts putting me in handcuffs. I hear, I'm like, all right, bro, that's not necessary. So he puts me in handcuffs and he starts patting me down. And I'm like, because I tried to run. All right, cool. You know, I'm getting arrested at school. And he's like, he decides to mock me. He goes, got any weapons on you, Pablo? You know, knife, brass knuckles, perchance? I'm like, oh yeah, I got a pencil. Does that fucking count? And I swear to God, this dude takes my pencil out of my pocket, keeps it until we get to the office, and I'm getting walked down in handcuffs. So I'm just like, you know, whatever. I've been arrested before. So he takes me down to the office, and, you know, they say I'd have been fine until I tried to run. So it's whatever. I take that suspension. Take it as, you know, fine. It's cool. But the big incident that happened, I get into a fight with this one dude who I'm not going to name, but it was over bullshit. He was, you know, shit talking. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. He's like, so what's up? I'm like, you really want to take it there? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, dude. So he throws some shit at me in the middle of lunch. I get mad. I go over and we start fighting. And think about it. Teacher gets hit and he starts pushing me. The teacher starts to push me and he starts screaming, this guy hit me, this guy hit me, this guy hit me. And I'm like, the fuck? I'm like, mister, I didn't hit you. And he's like, this guy hit me, this guy hit me. I'm like, dude, I didn't hit you. But if I did, I'm sorry. But I swear to God, I don't remember hitting you. I hit that motherfucker. So I get sent to the office and they told me that a knife was found on the scene and that if it was mine. And I said, dude, no, you guys check me every fucking day. You guys check me in the morning. You guys check me at random. It clearly wasn't my knife. And he goes, you know, they're questioning me. They seem like they don't believe me. And they say another thing about it is Mr. Moss was hit. And I'm like, well, I didn't hit him. You can check the cameras. I didn't fucking hit him. So they check the cameras. They rule out that the knife wasn't me. They said that I didn't have the knife. But they told me that they did determine that I was the one who hit Mr. Moss and that I'm going to have assault on a staff member put on me, you know, a charge. So I'm confused. I'm like, I don't remember fucking hitting him. So I start asking around for videos because everyone recorded this fucking fight. So I do get videos. And in both videos, you can see that the other kid hit the teacher and that the knife fell out of his pocket. Whole time I'm being threatened with charges. But when it comes out that it was this little white boy that hit him, it turns out, oh, well, he's not going to have charges pressed against him. Moss determined that it was an accident. He said that, you know, he forgives the child, that it was just in the heat of the moment. Oh, but me, I was going to get charges pressed on me. All right, you know, make that make sense. So I get kicked out of South. I get expelled. But there was a part where they couldn't expel me. Because the day after the expulsion, they call my mom and they tell her, well, there's this paper you never signed about his IEP and this meeting you never went to. And my mom tells them, you never told me about a paper I had to sign. You never told me about any meeting. They never did. So they can't expel me. But still they determine that, oh, he can't come back to South. You know, we're going to keep it as expulsion, but technically until you sign it, we can't expel him. So it turns into this whole mess. They tried sending me to Parish being the alternative school. Him, white boy that had a knife and hit the teacher, he got sent to North. He got sent to a different public school, traditional school. So I'm out of school for 3 fucking months because I go to Parish for a day and I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this shit. So I decided to fight the expulsion. Hold on, it's hot as fucking here. All right, where was I? Oh, yeah. Out of school for 3 months, and I decided to fight it because, you know, I'm not trying to be expelled. So I fight it. There's 4 people at the meeting. It's my administrator, nightmare of administrator, Mr. Potts, this other assistant principal, I'm pretty sure, me, and my mom. Oh, and then the 5th person being the person at the tech building with absolutely no bias. And she told us she intentionally didn't look into it because she wanted to hear both sides before she even looked at it because she didn't want any personal bias. Meeting goes, you know, whatever. And it's determined that, oh, we're going to revoke the expulsion and we're going to switch it to reassignment like the other kid. And we're like, all right, where? You know, because obviously I can't go back to South. I got kicked out. But we're like, where? And their option was Blackburn, the worst school in the district where you get sent to after being expelled 2 times. All right, that's how you get sent to Blackburn, by being expelled twice. All right? So I'm like, all right, yeah, that's not going to fucking work. I want to go to a traditional school. They're using excuses of no school will accept you, blah, 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 blah. You've had too many incidents. Okay, this kid brought a knife. And mind you, here's a part I left out. When I brought my knife, and I told them, you know, they said, were you going to stab somebody in school? And I said, no, I would never do that. It's for outside use. It's not a cop on every corner, but there's a security guard in every corner of the school. You know, they tell me that that's not an excuse, that it wasn't acceptable, that I can't justify it. But when he brought his knife, he told them that he was scared that I was going to jump him. I don't jump, so I don't know where the fuck he got that. He pulled it out of his ass. But when we asked about him having the knife, oh, well, we understand that he had the knife because he thought Pablo was going to... Okay, so you're telling me he was going to stab me. That's what he used. That's what he brought us to school for, was to stab me. That's cool, you know. That's fine. That's fine. So his knife was justified, but mine wasn't. And another part about it was people started to view this as a racial thing, which I didn't really want to view it as that at first, but it does explain, you know, a little bit of favoritism. You know, he got sent to North, I got sent to Blackburn and Parish. He got diversion, I got an extra charge to probation. So it was starting to be viewed as a racial thing. You know, a little white boy versus Mexican cholo looking motherfucker, you know. But, you know, after all this, I'm getting sent to Blackburn, which I'm clearly not happy about. And I'm out of school for 3 fucking months. And this puts me in a really deep depression, I guess you could say. You know, I don't gain a lot of weight, but within a month, I had lost 10 pounds. I was about 123, 124 pounds. I weighed 135 before. So I wasn't doing too well. And it kind of hit me worse when my friends were telling me that I looked a lot thinner and that I always looked tired. Because I was sleeping till fucking 3, 4 p.m. But this entire time being out of school, it put me in a really bad place in my life. And I just wasn't doing well. But placement at Blackburn is inevitable at this point. And so they bring me to the tag building to do tests on me. And they're, basic tests. And I asked them, well, what level grade are these tests? And they say, oh, well, they're 11th grade. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's shit that I didn't learn because I haven't been in school in 3 fucking months. And they're like, well, yeah, basically. I'm like, whatever, I'm going to fail. I thought I was going to fail. The average score for people who take the tests was around 60 to 70%. Maybe 80. I got 120%. I guess I'm not fucking retarded, okay? I guess I'm not fucking stupid. And around this time, my mom was, bringing up the IEP very often. And this is when they finally decided to, dig deeper into it after 7 years, by the way. 7, 8 years. And I get the IEP when I'm at Blackburn. And Blackburn was a nightmare of a school. Because at Blackburn, let me tell you what this lady told me while I was taking the tests, and I was saying how I didn't want to go to Blackburn. Oh, well, I would send my kids to Blackburn. Oh, yeah, where are your kids? Burke. Yeah, you wouldn't fucking send your kids to Blackburn. You're fucking lying in my face. Don't talk to me like I'm a fucking idiot. Stand up straight. But, they sent me to Blackburn. They say a big part about it is, the teachers can spend more time with me and they can blah, 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 blah. And with his anger, they have cool down rooms, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. My mom and grandpa eventually convinced me to go to Blackburn. So I do. And it was shit. I mean, I was going and having to go through a metal detector every fucking day. And I wore baggy ass pants worn by 30-year-old obese men. So, having to take my belt off every fucking day kind of pissed me off. I started refusing at first, but eventually I just let in, took off my belt, held my pants up, and I just don't go for a good minute until March is when I really started to go, because I got put on a GPS tracker. I got put on an ankle monitor. So I kind of have to go at this point, And remember what I said about the cool down rooms? How if I get angry, they got cool down rooms, blah, 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 blah. I walk in, I'm wearing my beanie because I just got a shitty haircut. And they're like, oh, well, you need to take your beanie off. You can't be wearing that around school. I'm like, why? Am I gonna bomb the school with the fucking beanie? And they're like, haha, you're funny, but no, we just need you to take it off. I'm like, why? Give me a good reason why. You know who the fuck I am, right? There's not that many kids in this school, probably around like 40 at max. But it turns into this whole situation. I had already had a bad morning, so they're pissing me off. And they tell me, well, if you want to talk like that, you can just leave. And I'm like, no, I physically can't because I'm on a tracker. And if I leave, I will go to jail. I will get arrested. Oh, well, that's not our problem. You need to go. So I'm like, what the fuck? All right. So I walk outside and I call my mom because if I leave this property, I'm going to jail. I call her and she comes to pick me up. It turns into this whole thing with Blackburn. They didn't try to call her when I got kicked out, by the way. She got no calls. And she's like, oh, well, my mom said, why didn't you guys try to call me? Oh, well, our phone lines were down. All right, yeah, like none of you have a mobile phone to call my mom. Like, hey, we kind of just kicked out your son. So, no, it was whatever. I ended up going to a jail for school for like that whole day. Then I was suspended for an extra day, so 2 days. So yeah, being at Blackburn, this happened 2 times, by the way. That an incident like that, I won't get into the next one because it doesn't matter, but it happened twice where I got kicked out and I was on a monitor. And that day with the beanie, that was negative degree weather and I was wearing a thin ass sweater. So, fuck me, I guess. But around this time, I was also diagnosed with PTSD, post-traumatic Down syndrome. But But yeah, it wasn't a good time. It wasn't a good time. So I ended up having to finish a year at Blackburn. When I'm off the tracker, I'm happy to just not go to school whenever I feel like it. That was my junior year. It was a fucking handful. Oh, and that IEP that they finally put in place, it didn't help for shit. They had 2 notes on there, and I had even moved to school in Texas, and they said, what the fuck kind of IEP is this? You know, it just says, extra time, talk to him. Okay. What the fuck, you know? But, yeah, junior year was a lot. So, I feel like I should also add, before going to Blackburn in November of 2023, I got accused of swatting South, and they tried sweeping that under the rug like they never accused me of that. And when I went public about it, a teacher was talking shit about me in class to all his students, which they caught it on video, by the way. That used to be a reel up on my page, but you know, they accused me of swatting South and arrested me on the field. So, you know, that's fun. That's cool, but post-traumatic Down syndrome, I guess, is what it gave me. So yeah, I leave Blackburn, but I had a student rights attorney, this lawyer, who was trying to help me get back into regular traditional school, you know? And I think it's fucked up, you know? Part I mentioned earlier about the whole race thing. First thing she did ask my mom, one of the first things she asked her was, I have a question. Is your son Latino? And my mom was like, well, yeah, of course. She goes, that's it. You go to these Ralston schools, these white people schools, they don't have no problems like that. You know, they ask for help, they get it like that. But with the amount of cases I've seen of Hispanic parents asking for help for their kids and they never get it, it's OPS, you know. And I wanted to deny it at first, you know, when everyone was bringing up the race thing. I said, well, it's all Hispanic students. And they're like, yeah. And it's all white teachers. I'm like, damn. And I had even gotten into a little argument with my friend about it. And I'm like, nah, they don't think it like that. He gets mad at me. He says, dude, you need to understand something. Just because we call you güerito, and just because we call you little white boy, Mr. Güero, you're not white. You're not white, motherfucker. You're brown. Look at your mom. Look at the way you dress. Look at you. Look at the way you talk. You're not white. But I'll say his name. But Max is. That was a kid who brought the knife. Max is white, and you're not. And I go, damn. So, I don't like feeling discriminated against. I try not to feel like that. I don't like being the victim. But looking back, maybe it did have something to do with race. I don't know. But yeah. So a student rights attorney, she promises me that I can go back to a traditional school in August 2024, you know, the following school year. I'm like, finally, I'll get to have a normal senior year. I had nowhere near a normal junior year. But, you know, maybe senior year will be different. I end up moving. I moved to Texas. And a big part about it is the school I was at, Blackburn, the director of that school, Michaela Jackson, she had told me that I had finished a program, that I no longer needed to go to Blackburn, and that I was fine. I was fit for a public school. So I needed her permission to go to a regular school in Texas. And, you know, we call her, she sends an email, and I get to go to regular school in Texas, traditional school. But I end up moving back to Omaha, September 2024. And I try going back to school in Omaha. And at this point, they're just giving me the runaround and telling me that I can't go to a traditional school, that I don't have enough credits, that this and this and that it would take me too long, which is hilarious, motherfucker. Kids with 8 credits are still at public school in senior years, so miss me with that bullshit. You're just picking and choosing. So me and my mom are pissed, and they're telling me, oh, well, he can do these alternative programs. He'll earn 5 credits a semester, and he'll graduate you know, in 2027. But me and my mom think about it, and we're like, wait, so I'd earn 5 credits at this alternative program, but I would earn 8 credits per semester at a traditional school and still graduate within a 1.5 to 2 years. And now this lady's just dead silent. So we're like, that's just screwing me over in the long run. You know? It's just wasting more of my time. But in the end, I can't go to a traditional school. No reason why, other than he doesn't meet the criteria, even though Michaela Jackson told me I didn't need to go to an alternative school anymore. So instead of Blackburn, they're sending me through these other alternative programs. So I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. So at this point, I have no choice but to unenroll myself. And that was a fucking process. That part doesn't really matter too much. It was just a bitch trying to convince me not to unenroll. But I do, and I'm a dropout officially. And this whole thing, you know, I'd have stayed quiet about it, but I guess emotions got the better of me. Seeing all my friends graduate, seeing them all get their diplomas, their caps and gowns, walking that fucking stage. I ain't gonna lie, shit made me cry. Made me emotional. Made me sad. I got to see it. And I'm proud of all of you. Proud of all you guys who graduated, but I didn't get to. And while I admit, I made mistakes. I did do some bullshit here and there, but for them to say that I was unfit for a traditional public school, it didn't exactly sit right with me. My phone started dying, my bad. It didn't sit right with me that I didn't get to go to a regular school after, you know, at least a little bit at Blackburn. Reassignment from South, I understood that. Blackburn and no other option, didn't feel right. So yeah, that's my story with OPS. Gave me PTSD, I guess, you know, whatever. Lost 10 pounds in the span of a month. I can't even gain 10 pounds in a couple weeks. So, you know, for me to lose more weight, it's kind of hurts. Doesn't feel good. So hopefully more of you feel comfortable telling me your stories. You know, I can make a part 2, which, you know, I'm absolutely down for. If enough of you want to share your story, but there's mine. And I hope you guys can understand why I dropped out and why I hate OPS. Fuck it. OPS, give me a defamation lawsuit. Fuck you guys. But yeah, that was me. My name is Pablo Ochoa, also known as Ghost, also known as Mr. Take Your Bitch, Mr. Fuck Your Boyfriend. But yeah, thanks for hearing me out if you got to the end of this, and I'll see you sexy people later.